New York, New York, 1964. Kitty Genovese is a 28-year-old woman who was born in Brooklyn on July 7, 1935, to Vincent and Rachel Genovese. Upon graduating Prospect Heights High School with high grades, Kitty's mother witnesses a murder in the streets that prompts the family to move to New Canaan, Connecticut. Kitty, however, remains in New York City working as a bartender and lives in an apartment with her girlfriend in Kew Gardens, Queens. On March 13, 1964, Kitty returns home around 3 a.m. from the local bar she worked at. As she parks her car and heads towards her apartment building, she notices a man standing in the corner of the parking lot. By the time she has reached her apartment, the man, who would later be identified as Winston Mosley, stabbed her. According to various reports, it was then that a neighbor heard her scream and yelled at the man from his apartment window to leave her alone, prompting Mosley to walk away. But minutes later, he would return as Kitty struggled to make it into her apartment door, and he stabbed her again multiple times before fleeing the scene. As the story goes, there were 37 bystanders who witnessed the attack, and none of them came to rescue her. Emergency responders were not even called until 3:50 a.m., and by that time it was far too late to save Kitty's life. Not long after the murder, the New York Times published an article by journalist Martin Gansberg, which headline read, "37 who saw a murder didn't call police," that painted the shocking murder and lack of empathy from their neighbors. Although the facts shared in this article would be acknowledged as faulty by the New York Times themselves years later, as it was estimated there were only around a dozen bystanders, and multiple calls were made to the police early on, it was already too late. The story shared in this article had made national headlines and had caught the attention of people everywhere, becoming one of the most notorious homicides in New York history. But how did this tragic and seemingly preventable murder change how we view human psychology? Among the many people shocked by the article were two psychologists named Bob Latan and John Darley. The event led to these two psychologists researching what factors might impact a bystander to not help a victim. This research coined the infamous term, the bystander effect, which is still a very popular concept that psychologists study today. The bystander effect occurs when the presence of others discourages an individual from intervening in a seemingly wrong situation, and it states that the larger the number of bystanders there are, the less likely someone will help. The knowledge gained from this psychological phenomenon is still practiced today. For example, the teaching of CPR courses changed, and rescuers are now taught to pick just one bystander for help, which greatly improves the chance that that person will assist the rescuer. As well, the effect is considered to be one of the main factors that led to the establishment of the emergency number 911, as before 1968, the only number people in distress could call was 0, and calls to this line could be placed on hold long after the emergency was over. As this case focused a large amount on the fact that no bystanders could reach emergency services in time to save Kitty Genovese, it was clear that the new 3-digit line was needed. The case of Kitty Genovese is undoubtedly heartbreaking and unfathomable, and it's one that still lingers in the minds of those who hear it. But it's clear that if this case had not occurred, our view on human psychology might be much more different.